got a lot to talk about today, guys, so get in here. This is Jack with Cosmic Road. I talk about UFOs and the paranormal. Please hit like and subscribe and let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Here to start with, we have some awesome ball lightning, although there is some debates in the comment section about whether or not this is actually ball lightning or something more anomalous. But it's making car alarms go off. Yeah, it's some weird, crazy phenomenon. Whatever it is, it's pretty cool looking. You can see all the sparks coming off of that. Yeah, you have this one ball that comes and kind of fades out, and then you have another crazy thing going on over here. Really interesting. I mean, again, I think this is probably just natural phenomena, but it's pretty cool. So yeah, let me know what you think about that. Meanwhile, do we have new UFO legislation coming? This is from Defense Scoop. Brandy Vincent, new UAP legislation in the works as Congress prepares for more hearings. Now, there's really not a lot of meat to this article as far as like new legislation goes. And we're talking about things like the UAP Disclosure Act, the Schumer-Rounds Amendment that was passed into law a few years ago. All the teeth were removed from that amendment, unfortunately. But it did get passed into law. We do have a UFO disclosure law that actually got signed into law by the president. Pretty cool, right? But again, it didn't have any teeth, so people want more legislation for disclosure. Tim Burchett is saying we're just going to get more support and maybe make the legislation more precise and concise. I think that's going to help a lot. And that's really all it says about new legislation, so I don't want you to waste your time too much with this article, but there are some comments from Anna Paulina Lunison. Anna Paulina Luna. And it's just comments that we've heard before, but I think they are important. One, she says, is going to be more government focused, talking about the UFO hearings. We are asking various appointees. I don't want to release the names yet, but we have been getting good responses from them, and we will make those names known soon, as well as military and former military that will be coming forward. Also, I want to note that we were told by one of Mr. Burleson's staffers, David Grush, that's helping us to lead up this investigation about someone that wants to come forward in regards to a crash retrieval program. So that's pretty interesting to hear someone going on record about that. Yes, indeed it is. Some people are speculating that it could be Matthew Brown, the new Immaculate Constellation witness. And Ross Coulthart here is talking about how he should testify.
A patriot, he's a good human being, he needs to be protected, as he's revealed in his interview with Chris Sharp for Liberation Times and also the one with George Knapp and Jeremy Corbell. Actually, Chris took his stuff from George and Jeremy's interview. He's concerned about retaliation. He's concerned about threats. And he's also concerned about the possibility that he could even be executed for revealing what he knows. This is serious stuff. Congress needs to do something about it. We can't have a situation where, as has happened with Jake Barber and David Grush, Congress just goes, and moves on. This has to be investigated. This is a senior person in a senior government position with a top secret compartmentalized security clearance, revealing things that raise grave concerns about America's national security. Let's get it investigated. Let's put him in front of a public hearing, and let's also find out why he wasn't allowed to give evidence at the hearing that took place last year, because my understanding is that he was hoping he would have been able to. Let's protect this person. Let's let our Congress people and our senators know that the revelations of this person matter, and the White House needs to do something about what he's said.
Yeah, so that was really interesting. Another great screen grab. Okay, let's maybe a better screen grab of Ross. Well, there you go. Talking about Matthew Brown and the new information about Immaculate Constellation. Should he appear before Congress? Now, I would rather have somebody that is a direct participant of these crash retrieval and reverse engineering programs, somebody like Jake Barber, for example, although, we don't know all the people that are involved in this, so it could be people that we have never heard about before that David Grush is coordinating with, bringing forward before Congress at the next UFO hearing. Hopefully, somebody in the crash retrieval and reverse engineering program. That's my hope. But hey, if Matthew Brown is the person they bring out, then he's the person to bring out. Certainly, he has very interesting information. Now, it's important to know that he's not the only source of information about Immaculate Constellation.
I think it's exciting because you now have whistleblowers come forward about this program. I had reported on it before and had multiple sources confirm the existence of this program. I think what's so important to know is that what they're saying is that the Pentagon, it's not just a few of these little videos coming out in dribs and drabs, but they are sitting on a significant body of photographic and video evidence that I also, some, people that did not know about the IMCON program told me of other videos that they had seen of orbs coming out of the ocean near Kuwait, for example, which I testified on as well. There is, I think everybody agrees, there's a huge amount of information that the Pentagon is sitting on, the intelligence community as well as sitting on it, that hasn't been released. And so it's not even the case that this shouldn't be very controversial. I mean, this is what these documents look like. The redactions are outrageous. I mean, you see, it says, what are the possible explanations? This is, by the way, the UAP task force. What are the explanations? And it blacks out two potential explanations.
Isn't it all?
Yeah, anyway, Michael Schallenberger, another source of information for Immaculate Constellation, talking about his sources and how there are multiple sources that confirm this. And of course, that the Pentagon is sitting on a treasure trove of UFO evidence that they are not sharing with us. Why? Well, because they got stuff to keep secret, right? Unfortunately, and as far as keeping secret stuff, the suppression is still alive and well. People are saying that the Soul Foundation's Wikipedia page may be on the chopping block, at least potentially. An editor has nominated this article for deletion about the Soul Foundation, a think tank established in California in August 2023 to research the political, philosophical, and scientific implications of UAP. A really interesting organization. I certainly hope they don't get shut down by this. That's just really BS. Meanwhile, check this out. This is cool. This is awesome. I think Nico sent me this. I've got to get one of these. This is just so cool. Okay, if it's not UFO related, but it's damn cool. They've got hover bikes now, guys. That's just cool. And look at that. That's just sweet. I mean, who wouldn't want their own hover bike? Yeah. Ewoks, watch out. But getting back to Jake Barber and his information, Willie Streamer has a different take on Jake Barber's experience with that female entity that communicated to him through the 8 gong. And apparently still communicates with him and still interacts with him today. But here's what Willie had to say about it.
One of the things Jake Barber said was that he had experienced being possessed by a what felt to him like a very sacred feminine presence. And he then said, I don't feel ontological shock. I feel ontological relief. And Jake was engaged in aggressive actions toward the visitors. I know them well. I've been with them for years now. He was not possessed by any beautiful alien feminine presence. He was addressed by a weapon which changed his attitude from an aggressive attitude to a compliant attitude. Their weapons don't necessarily hurt you physically. They alter your perceptions of them in such a way that you can be much more malleable and much more controllable, but also much more present to the reality of them, which is that they're not aggressive here. They're not trying to take over. It's the last thing they want to do. They're here looking for companionship. If they wanted to take over, they could have done that in 10 minutes, years and years ago.
Okay, very interesting take from Willie Streamer.
If you feel like your brain
Jake Barber's information. Jake Barber didn't encounter a benevolent female entity, according to Whitley. He encountered a weapon that changed his perception. But according to Jake, he is still interacting with this being. So I tend to have doubts about that, unless this is some sort of ongoing weapon, which I guess is always possible. So let me know what you think. Meanwhile, getting back to Matthew Brown and his information, he had some comments about Sean Kirkpatrick, and I can't play the clip because there's music, but you can go watch the interview on Weaponized, and Matthew Brown talking about Sean Kirkpatrick and how he had seen some briefing material and some communications between Marco Rubio and Sean Kirkpatrick, talking about the legacy programs that the lovely Sean Kirkpatrick says don't exist. Well, Sean Kirkpatrick has fired back, per Red Panda Koala. That's the biggest bunch of bullshit I've heard today, SK says. Either he, Matthew Brown, is illiterate, or he's lying to gain fame. Either way, that's not true. Well, this is the second person that I've brought out in reports recently that have talked about Sean Kirkpatrick knowing more than he says and lying through his teeth about it. One of them is a guy that has known him for many years and has worked on and off with him. And he said that, yeah, Sean Kirkpatrick, the lovely Sean Kirkpatrick, knows some stuff and he's involved in some stuff and he lies about it and he can't talk about it, which I think is true. But there you go. Those are Sean Kirkpatrick's rebuttals of Matthew Brown. Speaking of AARO, the lovely AARO, here is Kozlowski, the new director of AARO, talking about what he seems to recognize as legitimately anomalous phenomena.
And for the cases where it looks to be truly anomalous, we will then send it off to our scientific and intelligence partners for a very thorough analysis that generally takes on the order of months. And sometimes we don't even close those cases. We have to sort of keep them on the shelf, always looking for additional data to enrich them because the phenomenon are so perplexing.
Yeah, it's perplexing, and they send it off to these people to investigate, and then they sit on it and never release any conclusions. And when they do, they debunk it, like with the Go Fast and the gimbal. So, so Kozlowski is just another Kirkpatrick. As far as I'm concerned, he talks a little bit better. He does admit to some anomalous stuff, but that's as far as he's going to go, and he's going to just debunk stuff that's very legitimate and genuine and well vetted. So, but there he is. Maybe your take is different from mine. Maybe you have a more optimistic appraisal of John Kozlowski than I do. So let me know your thoughts. Will we ever hear back from these, analysts that are analyzing these anomalous, incidents that he's talking about? He says they're being analyzed. Presumably we would get some results from that, or at least they would clue us in on what these are, show us what we're talking about. I mean, why not show us the videos and photos of these legitimately anomalous things and, let us make up our own minds, right? But they're unlikely to do that because it's AARO. Meanwhile, poor Louzando is still feeling obligated to comment on that bogus photo.
During part of this forum that we had on Capitol Hill, right before we started, I was provided a photograph from a private pilot who had asked me, he was concerned that there was no real reporting mechanism. And we've known there's no real civilian reporting mechanism for private pilots to report UAP. And he took a few moments and explained to me what he saw surrounding this photograph. And so I made the command decision right there and then that I would use that photograph as an example of why we need some sort of civilian reporting system for our civilian pilots. Now that the military is taking this topic seriously, we still have this big gap between civilian aviation and military aviation. And so I made the determination right there and then to go ahead and use that photograph as an example. And looking back now that people have reacted the way they have, I just want to make it clear. I did say several times the photograph has not been vetted, and quite frankly, I did not have the time at that moment to vet it myself. But I did think it was interesting and important enough to at least use it as an example why we need civilian reporting. And unfortunately, I think that message got confused. Now, it's possible I did not communicate it effectively, and if that's the case, I accept full responsibility.
Yeah, well, I mean, I love Lou. I don't think he did this deliberately, as a lot of people seem to. I think that it happened pretty much the way he says it happened. But on the other hand, I do have a lot of questions. There are so many legit sightings that can be vetted. You can do detailed analyses of these videos and this data, multiple witnesses. You can vet a lot of this stuff. So if you were inclined to present a case of a UFO at the hearing, if you had that in your mind, you were going to start off with that, then why not show one of those? Why not have that ready if you wanted to do that? Why wait until the last moment and then somebody hands you something at the last moment and you run with that? I don't quite understand how all that played out, but it happened. And here Lou is taking responsibility for it. So good on Lou for taking responsibility. Meanwhile, getting back to the whole Skywatcher and Jake Barber information. Now, I don't have a lot of faith in Corey Goode, I'll be honest. But I thought this was interesting that the beings may not want us to have the dog whistle. And Dennis sent me this. So thank you, Dennis.
One of the things that I've been talking to people in the Earth Alliance, the DoD, they're very, very nervous about Jake Barber coming out, and they're afraid that he's going to give the actual dog whistle technology to people. And they're afraid that the more people go out and look at the sky and ask these things to manifest, the more and more they're going to manifest. And once a certain number of them are manifested, it's going to lead to something big. And the DoD is really worried about it because they don't think it's going to be a good thing. But they are very leery of people doing, the CE5s, going out. They told me they have less of a problem with, like, at East Eddy Ranch, people going out and looking and enjoying and that type of thing. That's kind of a part of the mystery and interaction that awakens people. But they said they feel like too many people are being encouraged to try to interface with whatever this is. And once you really interface, you go to the sky and you reach out with your mind with everyone else to have this thing manifest and do certain things. When you go home, a lot of the times it follows you.
Okay, now I thought that was interesting enough to bring to your attention, and for sure, stuff does follow people. I mean, the hitchhiker effect is a real deal, and some of it is very scary and alarming. So when Corey Goode, says something like that, I although I take it with a huge grain of salt, I also recognize the value in what he's saying, whether the beings told him that or not. I think it is good to go into these contact experiences with love and light and try to tune into the good stuff. But if you're just going into this stuff blindly, you don't know what you're going to get or what you're going to bring home with you. So, I do see, it might be wise to be a little cautious with stuff like the dog whistle. I would be very interested to hear if Jake Barber and his team are having any hitchhiker type effects. We know that Jake has said he's had ongoing interactions with that feminine entity, but has he had any other experiences, anything that he wouldn't want to bring home? Now, the Skywatcher crew, they do go into it with good intentions. Let's see, David Haith had a good breakdown of that, if I can find that. Every member of the Skywatcher team signs an oath to be of humble and loving intentions, Jake Barber has revealed. He said, regardless of whether you're flying the helicopter or you're a neural meditator or you're cleaning the Skywatcher toilet, you are held accountable to swearing the oath. It's about 500 words, but we actually sign it. And we set those intentions through that oath every morning. And the oath is very focused on a number of virtues. I would say humility is first and foremost, a loving, welcoming disposition, and although there are potential threats associated with this, the biggest risk I say we're taking is that we're taking an offensive or defensive posture, despite the fact there might be something worthy of being defensively positioned against. But we feel it's vitally important, even though there is no proof there is another sentient being or NHI involved here, but it is one of the possible outcomes. And the last thing we want is to be someone that acted aggressively against another entity or another form of consciousness. So yeah, Willie Streamer was saying he was had an aggressive approach, and that may have been true back during his legacy program, his UFO control group days. But now that he's on his own with Skywatcher, they are taking a non-aggressive stance. And so hopefully they're not bringing anything home with them now. But it would be interesting to know if they were, because despite what intentions they bring into it, if they're using this technology to attract these, entities or beings or craft, whatever they are, how can they know if it's good or bad? I can understand how they can know that when they're interfacing with them with the psionic assets. But I don't know how they can control that in any way with the technology, with the dog whistle. But maybe you guys do, so let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Let me know what you think about it all in the comments below. Like and subscribe. Hit the bell to be notified of future videos. You don't want to miss a thing. Join me on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Discord, and Rumble, links below. Love to see you guys there. If you want to support Cosmic Road in a bigger way, consider grabbing a coffee mug or a t-shirt in the merch store below, or by becoming a channel member. Channel members are rock stars, and I really appreciate you guys' support. Thank you. Meanwhile, there's plenty of other videos on the channel, and I'll see you next time. This is Jack with Cosmic Road, signing out.